Now, may I invite the speakers to come here, and then we can have a discussion and also brainstorming and about all the issues and probably the alternative uses for the site. Right, so I'll pass it on to the floor because I think other speakers have raised many different questions. Any comments or any questions to the speakers? Yeah, better space.
Well, first of all, I should say I agree with absolutely everything that Winston has said. Secondly, it seems to me that we need to have an archive and we need to have an archival law. This is, I think, directly related to dysfunctional government, actually. I mean, I don't know why the reason we don't have a proper archive, and now the practice has ceased of properly documenting decisions of government, is because decisions of government now are made in a completely haphazard way and nobody wants to have that exposed. Or, I mean, I'm just guessing, you know, we don't have any records of feng shui payments and what they're for. When I acted for Vietnamese asylum seekers and when I acted for right of abode applicants, we found great holes in what documents were kept by the Immigration Department, individual records, and we could only ascribe it to the Great Typhoon when the windows blew out in the Immigration Tower, and we always said the files must have disappeared and been sucked out of the windows. But it was very selective, because it only seemed to be, you know, the most controversial cases. That may be a very selective typhoon. The idea that, you know, the archives were sent off to Chun Mun behind barred windows, well, records are dangerous, you know. I mean, look at WikiLeaks. What happens when they get out? So you obviously have to keep records behind bars and as well as possible beyond public gaze. I also agree with Rachel. I actually went on one of the earlier tours recently on the CGO West Wing. And when you go with an architect, you suddenly do realize how the West Wing building is completely in harmony with the topography of the site. I mean, as a layperson, I actually think it may not be a beautiful building, but it's a brilliant building. I mean, at every level, from whatever level you are, it is as though that level is completely in harmony with the topography of the site. It completely respects the topography of the site. It's something that sadly we don't see very much of in Hong Kong from our buildings. But would I be sad if it were demolished? Well, no, I don't think I would be sad. I mean, I think it could be used, and one very good use would be to put, as Sam has suggested, that the Acts enable good access to government archives, but first of all you have to have something to put there. But would I be sad if it were actually demolished? Not if it was simply allowed to revert to being green, a green oasis for people to sit. Actually, there is quite a good canteen in the CGO West Wing, and I think members of the public used to be able to use it, so maybe something could be put there, some sort of kiosk, whatever, where you could buy lunch boxes and sit there. But I agree, it can be and should really be. We desperately need more public open space in Central. And I think that Winston's prognostications about which developer is going to get that site if it's torn down is absolutely right. We know that ridiculous Cheung Kong so-called park that you're made to walk through but cannot sit in and cannot enjoy, and it's all artificial anyway. is going to be changed from GIC to commercial. It's going to be zoned. And I can see that the rest of Government Hill, all of the areas, apart from those which belong to St. John's Cathedral, that is all eventually going to be zoned commercial. And I have one little question that I would like to ask government if government were here. We're told that the remaining buildings on Government Hill will be given to the Department of Justice. Now, I don't know how many floors the Department of Justice currently occupies. I don't know that Queensway government offices are going to be pulled down. But I just wonder whether, you know, the expansion of the Department of Justice is in any way linked to Winston's other prognostication, which is that we will soon have the Article 23 National Security Law, and they're envisaging that the Department of Justice is going to be very, very, very busy.
Thank you, Douglas. Yeah, just one point to add. In fact, we did invite officials from the planning department to be here this morning, but obviously they didn't turn out. Yes, John.
Thanks. I came in having seen some of the emails over the last few weeks, but not really knowing too much about this. But this has been really interesting to hear from this amazing range of people. And the input that you've given this morning is really, it's a pity there aren't more people to hear what you said, and I don't disagree with any of you. Mr. Borthwick, your point about the park being a roof garden, absolutely right. I mean, I'm working on a project in India at the moment which is similar in size, where they have underground parking, and they've told us as a client that we'll have a garden on the top. The first phase has these little scrappy trees and little shrubs in planter boxes, and they've now told us they'll never get to more than 9 feet tall. You can't plant a tree on top of concrete. Those pictures are a lie. Those walkways showing beautiful bougainvillea flowing over the edges like they do in Singapore. We don't have a single walkway in Hong Kong like that. So the first thing that I think a campaign like this needs to do is expose that lie, using pictures of the wall in Chim Sa Choi, using pictures of walkways that we currently have, using Cheung Kong's garden to show that what we're being shown on that picture is actually physically impossible. That would be the first thing. Second question on the archives. Great idea. How much space do you need? You said 3 floors. Could it just be a part of the West Wing in the lower section? Because what I'm thinking is, I think the building is ugly. It looks great on the pencil drawing that Mr. Borthwick showed, but it's a hideous building. It's the 1950s and it has no architectural merit at all. You said it was uncomfortable. I've heard similar stories to yours, Rachel. If it were to be demolished, the old ice house site can never be a garden. It's a pit. I mean, it's already cut the hill out. So if you're going to put something back, that is still an ideal site, 6, 7 stories high. But would it be enough for your archives? If that site, maybe 1/3 of that building was there, could it accommodate the archives that you have?
Joe, you want to answer that?
No, but okay, that would be one of the questions. Yes. The other one is, if a campaign does build momentum with the population, Rachel, your point about what does Hong Kong need? What is the overriding need of the people? I thought you absolutely were spot on. The ordinary people working in the offices